So, I thought for this interview we wouldn't sit down. Instead, we'd just kind of stand up to begin with, and then we're going to take a few questions. But I received an email yesterday from a concerned Irishman based in London. And I thought I might read it out to you first, Mike.
Hit me.
Hi, Paddy. I have a bone to pick with Mike Butcher. While I love Mike's reporting, TechCrunch as a whole have been bigging up London and Berlin for a couple of years now. Ireland seldom, if ever, gets a look in. Yet our startups continue to go global, and Ireland continues to churn out 100 million plus tech exits every year for the last number of years. Havoc, $100 million plus, Orbiscom, $100 million plus, Norcom, $300 million plus, Hostelworld, $300 million plus, and in the last few weeks, Cartroller, the valuation over 100 million. Is it that they're just not sexy photo sharing apps? Please kindly ask Mike to discuss. Kindest regards, Dylan.
Yes, next question. I'm afraid there's a rule. We actually have an editorial rule on TechCrunch, which is lasered onto our arm when we join, which is thou shalt not be rude to Instagram. No, actually, to give you a serious answer, and by the way, it's really great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, Paddy. Part of the reason I'm here is to try and cover you guys a bit more, right? But there's a sort of a simple answer, I think, in that we're a bit weird at TechCrunch in the sense that we kind of really like this stuff which looks like it has absolutely no business model whatsoever. Like this weird thing called Facebook about 4 years ago that was a college network and nobody knew what the hell it was, and it just looked like a kind of quasi-dating website. But, you know, it grew and grew and grew, and look at it now, and it's worth $70 billion. So, and Instagram, and I think, you know, it's a wider question about photo sharing apps. Photos online via mobile are what they call social objects. Social objects are really very powerful. If you can create something that people can socialize around, what you're ending up with is something that can scale internationally and across borders. So we tend to kind of go after these things which just get really, really big internationally. Just can be done anywhere, from anywhere. So when people write to us and say, you know, we've got a really great classified advertising website that's making a shitload of money, then we go, that's great, but it's not technology and it doesn't scale outside of Wales or something like that. So that's kind of a simple...
So talking then about getting big, Mike, there's a lot of talk about a bubble at the moment. Do you think we're in the middle of one? Are we back where we were 10 years ago? Or is there something different?
Well, I mean, obviously 10 years ago we had the public markets bubble. So you had a lot of IPOs coming through the system. And really, after the first 10 or 20, you got the kind of all the shit coming through, didn't you? And that was when it started to go wrong. And apart from anything else, all the predictions that were made at the time, broadband was arriving in 6 months, there was dark fiber in the ground, we were all going to be walking around with megabits per second on our phone, just did not happen. 10 years on, that is sort of starting to happen. The predictions made back then are starting to happen. But what we've got now is not a public markets bubble, we've got a private equity bubble. It's a private markets bubble. If you look at the second market, secondmarket.com, the valuations on secondary markets for privately valued companies, look how long Facebook is staying private, for instance. And the actual second market shares trading on Facebook is phenomenal because people want to get in there before it IPOs. It is really what's going on. So basically there's a lot of rich people losing their money, which is great, right? But not mums and dads and grannies placing bets on public markets.
So I've got a startup and I want TechCrunch to cover.
But actually I want to make one more point. So is there a bubble in Europe? No, we're just fucking excited. This is happening now, right? This is the point. We were all supposed to be doing this. You know, for years. This is why you're all here, 1,000 people in Dublin. This is not about web, the potential of mobile, the potential of HTML. Great, because you know what, that scales internationally. But, you know, don't do the Instagram copy, do better. Do something better than that.
Great. So we're gonna walk around and just about we're gonna start walking and talking.
Yeah.
So we're gonna walk around and ask some questions. So if you got any questions for Mike, please put up your hand, and if you don't, I'm going to ask you anyway.
Okay. So we're going to go, right, who's got a startup? Come on, put your hand up. Okay, you got to tell it to me in one sentence.
how do we get coverage?
Okay, this is the how to get coverage question on TechCrunch. So I wrote a post a couple of years ago called 15 Ways to Get on TechCrunch. Google it, read it, and then follow the instructions. But that's a simple answer. Another answer is, we get pitched all the time. I get about 500 emails a day. You have to sort of stand out. And if you don't hear from me, don't go, oh, Mike's a shithead, he never replied to my email. Email me again, okay? But don't email me again. Just, you know, you've got to tell a story. You've got to tell us, you don't send a 2,000 word exposition of your startup. You send, you know, a couple of paragraphs about how you're going to kill something, okay? You create news, you create a story about what you're doing. That's what you do. You say, look, you know, and also you jump on the news that's happening now. Mike, I just saw you post on something that's, you know, really current on TechMeme right now. I've got an application, I've got a startup that's going to change that, or kill that, or work with that. So that's what you do. Jump on the news. What's up? Go.
There's never been more TV stations, radio stations, newspapers. That's the offline world. So then when you take the online world, and there's all blogs, Twitter, etc. Are we in a media bubble if we're not in a technology business bubble?
Well, the media is generally a bit fucked, basically, because that's why I moved to blogs, because I knew that the mainstream media was going to have a terrible, terrible time of it. Because generally, their trajectory is down. Most of the time, media companies did not realize that there is now a link between commerce and the web. You can now buy the stuff that you see on a media site, right? So this is why it's very interesting that e-commerce sites now are developing content. So now, when you, like Emmy Gal, when you saw up there, now content sites are predominantly being built up by e-commerce companies because they need content around their products and create value and create stories around what they're doing. I don't think the media companies are totally screwed, but I think that curation, news aggregation, the stuff that kind of you heard earlier from the journal, it is definitely part of the future, because curation and being able to, it's either going to be crowdsourced creation from people like you, or it's going to be algorithm-based from people like Google. Okay, next questions?
Mike, I have a question. I'm just wondering about Tech Hub.
Should we go at the back?
Yeah. So, Mike, you set up something called Tech Hub in London. Could you explain where you got the inspiration from?
So, well, very interesting. I got the inspiration from you guys, Dublin. So there's this place called the Digital Hub, and I walked into it about 4 years ago, and I decided we needed something like that in London. And the London problem is a problem. It's very expensive, and nobody was doing a co-working space in London. And I thought, this is crazy, you know. And apart from anything else, what do Europeans do? They get on planes, they go to tech conferences. Unlike this one, a lot of them are really expensive. So actually, how do you get people to cluster in the same place? You can't just drive down the 101 highway like you do in Palo Alto. You, down from Palo Alto or up to the Bay Area, you have to cluster. So we wanted to create something where you could just like hit London for £4 on a Ryanair ticket or something, and just find the scene. So that's what we did. And by the way, watch out for Tech Hub events happening in the next few weeks. There's going to be stuff aimed directly at Ireland and directly at you guys to get you exposed amongst the London VCs. Okay, question?
Hey Mike, we'll go to Ireland. And Gicarella was pretty good. It would be great to have kind of a, since Pat is here, pitching session, more startups and more pitching and more investors.
So pitch, what's the startup?
Basically stimulate discussions between people in the same physical space.
Okay, right. Well, I agree, yes. And I think that's what we should do right here. So here's an idea I think you should do. Who's a founder here? Who's actually a CEO of a startup or a hacker with a product idea? Put your hand up. Go on, put it up if you're doing it. Okay, all those people with the hands up, what you should do is you should, when in the networking area, walk around with your hand up like that, okay, and then people will know you're a founder, and if there are engineers in the room, you can get hired by those people, right? Number one. Number two, where's the money? Where are the VCs? Where are the angels? Put your hands up. Come on. Come on, you pussies. Come on, you pussies, come on. There's one over there. Where are you from, sir? Okay, let's get them. Let's get this guy. Where are you from?
IIU.
IIU. Okay, how much have you got under management in your fund?
It's a family fund, so
So quite a lot.
Exactly.
Marvellous. Did you do well in the property boom?
We didn't tend to invest in property.
Good man. Okay, here's a VC over here. This guy's he's a suit, obviously a suit, so he's obviously a VC. Now, let's just go over here. Who else have we got? Who are you?
Will Prendergast from NCB.
Okay, and what have you got under fund? Do you do early stage deals?
We do. We have 75 million under management for Irish companies.
And what's your last deal?
Brightbill.
Cool.
Digital post boxes.
Okay, here's another guy. Striped shirt. You can tell a striped shirt. Usually a lot of European VCs have got kind of a blazer and then designer jeans. But you guys are different. So here's the deal, right? The other thing is, you are actually all VCs. You are funders. So Paddy did a fantastic event last year, and one of the things that came out of it was a guy called Dave McClure from 500 Startups. And the thing is, you don't actually need that much money to do a startup now. And what he said was, if you have a 25,000 euro car, then you can invest in startups. So ditch the car and start investing, because all it takes is a lot of product people, hackers, who can have, get inspired, get some inspiration, and get funding to take the product that they've got from just an idea to a real product to a startup. Okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Butcher.